Good morning! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Stanley. Today I'll talk about inauguration because the TV is on, and then President Trump is taking one last final trip with the Air Force One to Florida. Um, President-elect, former Vice President and President-elect Joe Biden and is at the church service right now to do the ceremony, and then later in the afternoon we're gonna have celebrities. Lady Gaga's gonna sing the national anthem, and then with J Lo, Jennifer Lopez is gonna set the perform, and then Biden and Kamala Harris is gonna swear in. So hours, in a few hours later on, our new president's gonna swear in. So right now it's still President Donald Trump, but former Vice President and U.S. President-elect Joe Biden, when he swears in, then we could say former President Donald Trump and then U.S. President Biden. So as you can see, Channel 4 is up because today is Channel 4. And if you want to hear it, I could play it. But today is Biden's day. We did it. We made it today. So it's a new year, new president, and new White House. Here we go.
Each of them almost every day, and these young ladies are some of his biggest champions. Is it true that he calls all the time, that your pop calls you guys constantly?
Yeah, that's something that I feel like some people don't believe when we say that he literally calls, not just like one of us every few days. He calls me, then he calls Naomi, then he calls Finn, then he calls Natalie, then he calls Ashley.
President-elect Biden will be sworn in today as the 46th president of the United States. But his most treasured role might be grandfather. We talked to 4 of his grandchildren, 16-year-old Natalie, Joe Biden's daughter, and Hunter's daughters, Naomi, Finnegan, and Maisie. 22-year-old Finnegan and 20-year-old Maisie are studying at the University of Pennsylvania, and Naomi is a 27-year-old Columbia law grad. Naomi, will you tell me a little bit about something that would surprise everybody about your grandpa?
He didn't start packing until the movers were coming at 9 a.m. I think he started packing at like 10 p.m. And him and my nana were like, we need your help. And we walk up there, and it's just their full closet. We're going through them like, stuff is going to Goodwill. I was like, why did you think this until right now?
Maisie, people might think like, no, he was vice president. Like, he couldn't go to games or concerts or any of that, but he sat at your basketball games.
He came to like every single one of my soccer games, lacrosse games, basketball games. It was always funny, like, seeing him show up when I was like, I think I just saw you on TV about 30 minutes ago. How did you just end up here? He was like, don't worry, I knew it was a big game today.
Maisie Biden counts Sasha Obama as a close friend. The two grew up together in D.C. and played on the same basketball team. Is it true that his colleague, President Obama, was your coach?
It is true, yeah.
Totally normal.
I know. There's a lot of teams that were like, this is unfair. They can't have the president be their coach, but I mean, one.
The Biden granddaughters are a tight bunch. Their closeness forged through campaigns, the devastating loss of Beau Biden, and long-standing family traditions, like loading up the caravan for the holidays. Natalie, talk about your Thanksgiving tradition.
Well, Thanksgiving, I think, is all of our favorite holiday. Because we usually get a Nantucket, Maisie and I, and my grandpa, my uncle, and my dad, we used to do a polar bear plunge in Nantucket in November. And it would always be crazy because they would have to bring all of the divers and the swimmers for Secret Service for my pop. And it's like me and Natalie and him holding hands, like sprinting into the water.
I know you were close with your grandparents as well, so to watch your dad be a grandfather, be a pop.
These women are the loves of his life and mine. He adores them. He adores being
a grandfather.
Given their tight bond with their grandfather, the Biden grandchildren were a big part of the decision making when it came to running in 2020. Naomi, I heard that your grandfather was a little nervous to run. He didn't necessarily want to put all of you through another campaign, and you knew that.
Oh, you
and
should
so you
die.
called a
Oh,
family
that much
meeting.
and then die.
Talk to us about that.
Then why
We just
why
kind
we
of all
brought up
agreed
then Naomi
that we
Christina
had to
by
sit
then
my
died
grandparents
in
down face to
1972?
face and tell them not only that
Oh.
we want them to run, but that we'll be okay if they do run. And I think it was actually little Hunter, right? Who showed him something on his phone, some like tabloid story about the families. But then basically said to him, like, we know about these sort of things. We know it's going to be bad, but we have each other and we know the truth, and like we will be okay. And so I think he came out of that meeting feeling a little bit more comforted.
This was a campaign like no other, like you mentioned. And what was it like to be part of it?
Well, I mean, you've done so many campaigns, so you know, but it really, we started in Iowa and ended up on Zoom. So it was like a whirlwind.
However, election night, or should we say election week, was spent with Nana and Pop as the results trickled in. The family waited anxiously.
Yeah,
We told Natalie that if she jumped in the lake,
the lake is very dirty.
it's like the lake.
Did she jump in?
It's like a puddle.
Well,
and she jumped in.
And I jumped in. They were like, if you don't jump in, we're gonna lose. So then I jumped in, and then my Uncle Hunter came out and said that we won Wisconsin. So
We can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden has been elected President of the United States.
Now, on Saturday morning, when the election was finally called and your grandfather was declared winner, there was a picture that Naomi, you posted of a group hug. What was that moment like for your family?
When the results came out and CNN called and MSNBC, it's like your whole body. I mean, everyone was crying. It was just like we embraced each other, and I think we'll always remember that moment.
As their grandfather heads to the White House, they've turned to their close friends and former residents of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for guidance.
Welcome back. It is Inauguration Day. You are looking at the National Mall, the Capitol. Craig made his way there. Craig, morning.
Hey, hello, Savannah. Good morning to both of you. We are on the east side of the Capitol. When President Biden is sworn in at noon today, he will be sworn in on the west side of the Capitol, so just on the other side. Up until 1980, the swearing-ins happened on this side. Ronald Reagan actually moved them to the west side so more folks could watch. So ever since 1980, they've been held there. In about 15 minutes, we are expecting to start to see some of the arrivals here at the Capitol. The Supreme Court justice is set to arrive. Members of the House and Senate set to arrive here as well. Also, the JCCIC, that is the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies. You don't hear a great deal about the JCCIC except every 4 years, or in some cases every 8 years. But members of that committee are in charge of putting on the inauguration. Senator Amy Klobuchar, House Majority Leader, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, members of the House and Senate leadership on that committee. So they'll start to make, we're told in the next 15, 20 minutes, they'll start to make their way to the east side of the Capitol.
Just hours away as Trump departure on Air Force One. The Biden inauguration. Look at that. That's the ceremony. That's the U.S. Capitol. But there'll be no fans. No fans today because the pandemic.
Marine One here on the east side, and you would see the outgoing president, outgoing first lady, take that trip to Andrews. Not so this year. We've already seen, as you've been showing throughout the morning.
Vice President Mike Pence will not be attending President Trump
after the ceremony, after the luncheon.
for this morning. He planned to attend Biden's inauguration before flying to India. So Mike Pence is going to India, but Trump is going to Florida. So they're going separate ways. Because Trump is not going to attend Biden's inauguration this afternoon. But Mike Pence will. So when he attends, when that inauguration is over, he goes to India. And then later in the afternoon, there'll be a virtual parade Because normally there'll be fans and people marching down the parade, but not this year. It'll be virtual because everything had to be virtual this year. It started last year, but it's continued to be virtual until we get better and better and better and better and better. And I heard on the news there's another vaccine's coming. Our number 3, we already have 2 vaccines already. We got the first one that came in December, second one came this month, and then now we're gonna have the third one coming soon. So there'll be 3 vaccines. Depends on which one you guys take. So you gotta do research on it, right? All right.
Basically, a nation divided, and you've studied history over the years.
Our former president Barack Obama is at the U.S. Capitol, and our former President Bush and is at the U.S. Capitol, and our former President Bill Clinton is also at the U.S. Capitol. So we got former Obama, former Bush, former Clinton at the U.S. Capitol. And we got a former First Lady, Michelle Obama, our former First Lady, Bush, our former First Lady, Hillary Clinton. But Hillary Clinton ran in 2016 to become president. If she had won that election, this Biden wouldn't become president. Then Hillary will come 4 more years of Hillary. But Hillary lost in 2016, so now Biden said, I want to fight for that right. So he won, and I am so happy that Biden won because I am a Democrat, and my family was always a Democrat. Biden won. I am happy. So that's why today I do the vlog of inauguration. So it's inauguration today. So yeah. So he's gonna swear in. Biden's gonna swear in at 11:15 a.m. Right now is 10:10 a.m. So he's gonna swear in like less than an hour. So there'll be national security guard there, police, just in case of protest or anything. Because Trump is not the White House no more. He's bye-bye. Hit the road, Trump. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. I'm gonna play that song later for the vlog, for this vlog. So stay tuned for that also, because I'm not gonna end this yet, but just stay tuned for it. Right now, President-elect Joe Biden, Joseph R. Jr. Biden, is at the U.S. Capitol. Now, our President Biden, our new president, our president number 46, President Biden is at the U.S. Capitol now to swear in to the White House to become official president. Listen.
The biggest distinction between today and the past literally 48 months.
You guys hear that? You guys hear the band playing instruments?
Say with certainty he is a good man.
Mike, he will make pledges today during his speech and goals. But when it comes to this idea of unity, what's the measure of success?
Boy, that's a good question, Lester. I mean, the measure of success, I think, immediately.
That's the band.
Like, do you get the massive
and wait for it
through Congress? The update of the CARES Act. Do you get another $1 trillion or $2 trillion to help people who are desperate for help?
Wait for it.
People who have been thrown out of their homes, lost their homes, been evicted from.
That's the U.S. Capitol. It says President-elect Biden en route to the Capitol. President-elect Biden en route to Capitol. The inauguration of Joseph R. Biden Jr.
I think we're going to find out very quickly within the first 3 months whether the Congress and the Republicans will balk at everything.
They look at that. There's no fan, but you know why there's no fan because of the pandemic. You know what they're going to use to replace the fans? They're going to use those American flag because of COVID-19. the pandemic is still going on. We still have this pandemic in New York and around the world. Around the world, the global worldly pandemic is still going on. So you can see, look at that.
And speaking to those who didn't vote for him, I mean, it's almost, many.
If you guys vote for him or not have vote for him, if you vote for Biden, you're happy today. If whoever didn't vote for Biden, they're not a Democrat or they want Trump for 4 more years. Sorry, Trump is bye bye. He is gone. So he is pew. I pew him. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Don't do that ever again. I said Trump is pew. I said Trump is pew. Oh shoot. So Trump is pew. Okay, pew. Kick him out. So have you vote for Biden? If you have not, if you vote for me or not, he is gonna be your new president of the United States. Alright? As along with our first female South American first black president of the first black vice president female as first black vice president of the United States. Look at that. I think that's Bush. I think so, but I'm not sure. Because he is pretty, could tell it's pretty long time ago. So you guys can see that. So, yeah, if you want to watch it, you guys could watch it on. If you guys want to watch it, you could watch it on Channel 4, Channel 2, and Channel 11, Channel 7, CNN, all the news channels, all the local news channels. So you can watch it on CBS, which is Channel 2. You can watch it on Channel 4, which is what I'm watching right now. NBC. You can watch it on Channel 5, which is channel. You can watch it on Fox, which is Channel 5. You can watch it on You can watch it on ABC, which is Channel 7. You can watch on Pix 11, Pix 11, which is on Channel 11. You can watch on NY New York, which is Channel 1, and also known as Spectrum News. That's also Channel 1. You can watch it on, if you have cable, the antenna that I have, or anything. You can watch it on the internet live stream. You can watch it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Amazon Prime Video, anywhere they has live for the inauguration, you could go watch it. It's free. No money payment. Okay? Alright, let's listen carefully. Here comes Joe Biden. Joe Biden is going into the Capitol now. For the first time ever, he's heading to the Capitol. And Kamala Harris is another first time ever. They're heading to the Capitol.
The tone that it is time for the country to move beyond those horrific events of 2 weeks ago. And then, of course, just 1 week ago, last Wednesday, President Trump was impeached. And so it is that incredibly complicated backdrop.
So, last Wednesday, Donald Trump was impeached. Because remember what happened on January 6th, two Wednesdays ago. 2 weeks ago of that Wednesday. They had a mob at the U.S. Capitol. Remember that video? You did not watch that video? Go watch it. I don't know what you're doing. Go watch it. And listen carefully.
That he's dealing with everything from COVID-19 to the economy and racial disparities. So the question is, though, as President-elect Biden tries to work on legislation,
I agree with her. And if you disagree, I don't mind, but I agree with her. So,
one of Joe Biden's rivals during the Democratic primary, someone now who is staunchly.
You see all that black, or those police cars, whatever you call them, they're going down the U.S. Capitol now. Look at that. Marching down.
Which will take place on the West Front Capitol is significant and is one step toward a return to normalcy after that attack on the U.S. Capitol. Savannah and Lester.
All right, Kristen.
Peggy Noonan joins us. She was a principal speechwriter for President Reagan and NBC News political contributor now. And Peggy, as we look at the going on 2 weeks ago at the United States Capitol, and now we see congressional leaders coming together and being present for the swearing in of a new president. And I just started thinking about
look at that police. We got 1, 2, 3,
on a separate co-equal branch of government.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there are. I have been heartened to see those members.
Look, they block off Washington D.C. because today's inauguration day. So
about, the events of the insurrection, Mitch McConnell was completely right.
Look at that.
In saying, look, this was
if I can see, you guys could rewatch it on YouTube if you want the highlights of this.
To enter the legislative branch, excited by the executive branch. This was a grave constitutional misstep is the word I'm thinking of, but that's not serious enough.
Alright, now you can see it says Biden, President-elect Biden arrives at the Capitol.
Healing that needs to take place in the nation, but anybody who's ever had a wound knows that most wounds don't heal overnight. So this is where that work begins, and we will begin to witness it today as this inauguration takes place and the inaugural speech, and we are watching these scenes as the dignitaries arrive at the Capitol.
Kamala Harris there.
That's Kamala Harris. Look at that's Joe Biden right there. Yep, Joe Biden is at the U.S. Capitol now. You go to see, that's Joe Biden right there. He's 78 years old, and he's our 46th president.
Yeah, let's go to Craig Melvin, who's on the east front.
He's going to swear in. Right now it's 10:27, so you have a little bit time, like an hour left. Less than a minute.
We also see the soon-to-be First Lady as well, Dr. Jill Biden.
That's the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. First Lady Jill Biden. First Lady Biden. And look at that, Kamala Harris, right behind Biden. That's our Vice President. Okay, first female as Vice President. We broke history already. That starts today. So
as they get ready to proceed up the steps, they're flanked.
They're heading to the Capitol now. State President-elect Biden arrives at the Capitol.
And they are being flanked by members of the Capitol Police because of obviously
Nancy Pelosi.
2 weeks ago, as we see the soon-to-be President, First Lady. Again, it's a little difficult to make out with the masks on, but I believe they are being greeted by members of the two members of the JCCIC, the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies. We saw Senator Klobuchar as well, who's one of the members of that committee a few minutes ago, sort of inspecting the troops, if you will. But they'll go in. They'll be greeted by members of the leadership as we listen in for just a moment.
All right. Listen carefully.
This is really stunning to watch.
I'm not going to talk, so listen. Put your headphones on and
we saw the
listen.
desecration of our U.S. Capitol.
And perhaps he's pausing there and has that very thing in his mind, or perhaps he's thinking of the day, oh gosh, decades ago when he first came to Congress as a United States Senator, a young man then in Greece who had just lost his wife and daughter in a car crash and had 2 young sons. And now we see, all these years later, the president-elect, the soon-to-be First Lady, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, who will make history in more ways than one today, and the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, as they now enter the building, where they walk in as President and Vice President-elect, but will walk out as the new President and Vice President of the United States.
Joe Biden spent a lot of time in that building as a member of Congress, and of course as Vice President as well. Andrew Mitchell, I want to get your thoughts. Again, juxtaposing what you're looking at now as opposed to what we looked at 2 weeks ago today.
Well, that is the stark contrast. I don't ever recall this happening because usually they come in through the Capitol and come out at the top of the steps. They are right on the podium. But walking up those steps where the Capitol was breached, that's where the first access to the Capitol took place on January 6th. I think that was a symbolic meeting by Senators Klobuchar and Blunt, who were the two chairs, the leaders, bipartisan of the Rules Committee, which is traditionally done, and now they're coming into the Capitol together up the steps. Both the Bidens and the Harrises, they did not, of course, have the reading at the White House that would have normally taken place between the president-elect, his spouse, and, of course, the outgoing president.
Andrea,
so that's why this is so different.
I just was told in my ear by our producer that Eugene Goodman, the Capitol Police officer escorting Vice President-elect Harris, is some will recognize some heroic actions that day as the insurrectionists and rioters broke into the Capitol. He was the officer who, in a moment of great poise, led them in a different direction away from an open door to the Senate chamber. And in that moment, many have said perhaps saved untold lives. And who knows what could have happened but for his heroism. And he, of course, is getting a place of honor today.
Well, Savannah, in fact, they are voting to give him the Congressional Gold Medal for that bravery and for the brilliance, really, of his quick decision-making. Recall that he was drawing them up to the top of the second floor, the steps there, and on that landing at the second floor, he quickly spotted that if they had turned to the left, they would have been 100 feet from where Vice President Pence and his family were then being secluded by the Secret Service, having just been taken off the podium of the Senate chamber
So
just minutes before.
later tonight on NBC, we're gonna celebrate America. I'm gonna vlog that, but it's gonna be tomorrow's vlog. So I'm gonna record it today. I'm gonna vlog it today until tomorrow.
All right, Andrea.
I don't have to vlog again.
Let's go to Hallie Jackson right now. Hallie, again.
So that'll be tomorrow's vlog.
Your thoughts?
I'm struck by a couple of things, Lester. How many times has Joe Biden walked into this Capitol building over the course of his career, over the course of his many decades of public service? Thousands upon thousands of times, but never like this. And same goes for Vice President-elect Harris, for that matter, as well.
If not, then I'll put all that in one. But I want to separate it. So inauguration, that's sort of today. Tomorrow, because tonight I'm gonna celebrate America. So I'm gonna watch that. But I'm gonna vlog that too. But with this, I'm gonna vlog it, but I'm not gonna post it now. I'm gonna post it on tomorrow. So, but I'm gonna change the date on the computer, cause on when I logged it says today's date, but I could edit it the title so it's tomorrow's date.
By our team's count, who voted to object to the Electoral College count certifying President-elect Biden's win, are expected to be in attendance today. One of my producers spotted Congressman Jim Jordan, for example, one of President Trump's close moments ago on the left, to Senator Ted Cruz, House Republicans on the right, to be able to get some of what he wants to do through Congress. He's going to do a lot in the next 3 days as far as executive orders. A federal mask mandate, for example. He's going to reverse a series of executive actions that President Trump took in his early days in office and throughout his 4 years. But executive orders can only get you so far, and I believe we're taking a look as we talk about the president's allies at Senator Lindsey Graham here, somebody else who has been with the president even in his final days of office, flying with him on Air Force One, for example, on the president's last trips here. Joe Biden is going to need that help to create the kind of change that he wants to create, to get done what he wants to get done, because those actions that he can take just via the power of the presidency only get him so far, as we look at what appears to be Steve Scalise, one of course, the Republican leaders walking through the halls of Congress here. I am also struck, as we take a moment to reflect here, this area that we've seen, and you saw a shot of what's called the crypt, where those big pillars are, packed with those insurrectionists just 2 weeks ago, chanting words like "hang Mike Pence," chanting about wanting to find lawmakers in their offices and bring them, in their words, to justice. It is such a different scene today. And I think it's powerful, and one of the reasons why you saw the Biden team push so hard to make sure that despite all the security measures in place in Washington, and this is my third inauguration, and I'll tell you, it looks very different than all the rest, at least from our perspective, he is able to stand on the West Front and do this. Typically, it's one of the things we get to do is spot people, talk about who we see. It's a lot harder to do when everyone's wearing masks. That's another big change here. As I look out from the risers of the West Front, social distancing is in place for all of these chairs. Masks are virtually on every single person that I've seen so far. They are all but a requirement here. And that is a significant change to what we've seen. As you both know, typically you're packed like sardines here. It is another sign, as we saw last night with the president-elect's service there at the Lincoln Memorial, another sign that the backdrop to all this is not just the political disunity, the discord, the concern about where this country goes from that perspective. It's the pandemic, and that is the number one priority for President-elect Biden moving forward.
Allie Jackson, thank you.
Thank you so much. And we are joined by someone who has a unique perspective on these events, former Vice President Al Gore, who, of course, served in the Clinton administration, was the 2000 Democratic nominee for president. And we all know the rest of the story after there. Mr. Vice President, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me, Savannah. It's a happy day.
What are your thoughts as you see this ritual of democracy, and not like any way we've seen it before?
Now they're awaiting inauguration ceremony.
The traditions of our country, but under all the... Don't think this is going to be a legitimate presidency, who think that the country is somehow under an assault against freedom. That's a bigger hill to climb than any president is facing trying to unify a country. How do you think, Joe Biden will go about it?
Well, I think, as others have said, Lester, he is the man for this moment. He is constituted in a way that leads him to reach out to others and build a bipartisan consensus wherever he can. This is hardly the first time, or the second or third or fourth or fifth time, when the side that lost an election feels bitterness and disappointment, but decides after reflection to put the nation first. And I hope very much that those who are still holding on to the lost cause of the outgoing president's reelection, which wasn't to be, will pause and reflect on what's far more important. And what's more important is the United States of America. And I do believe that with the passage of time, we are likely to see the kind of leadership Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are already beginning to provide will bring more toward the recognition that our people have chosen.
So right now it's 10:41 a.m. and the inauguration ceremony starts at 11:15. So you have less than an hour. So
be given that respect in due time by the vast majority of Americans.
And a key question as you talk about how to go forward and whether the two sides can come together and find common ground, we can't ignore the fact that there's been an impeachment in the House, and the Senate will have to take up that matter and conduct a trial. And I wonder where you come down on it. Do you believe President
well, it's
Trump
almost 11
should be
o'clock.
impeached by the Senate?
It's almost 11 a.m. It's almost 11 a.m. So
I listened with interest.
it starts at 11:15.
McConnell spoke yesterday.
But they have to sing the national anthem. So they're gonna have Lady Gaga sing the national anthem. So first they're gonna sing the national anthem and before the inauguration ceremony starts. The inauguration ceremony starts at 11:15. So that's when they're gonna sing the national anthem. That's when it starts. But the national anthem is gonna start at 11:30 a.m.
A rather elaborate send-off at Joint Base Andrews a few hours ago. We don't
President Trump arrives in Florida. Okay.
Armored vehicle there right at the steps, so we don't. Well, let's see what happens.
And yes, Melania Trump has changed into her Florida fashions for the occasion. She left Washington, and it's cold for the sunny skies of Florida, and has changed her wardrobe accordingly as they will drive off. But as you mentioned, 60 minutes and counting until we have a new president.
And what was it he said at the end of his remarks today? I'll be back in some form.
He said, I'll be back in some form, absolutely, and definitely did not give any indication he plans to leave the political stage, but in what form that takes, we'll see. And now we see the Trump children descend the staircase, but this is the moment where the split screen goes away and all eyes go on the United States Capitol, because we are about to inaugurate a new president, and the seat of government and those who hold power in our government are ready. We've got
Alright, it's 11:06 now. They go to. We're still waiting.
Are not there because of pandemic concerns. We have congressional leaders, and we have about 1,000 guests, which is about a 20th of what normally would happen if there weren't a pandemic and these grave security concerns. But
that's Mike Pence,
so see the vice president there.
Vice President for right now.
It's all the trappings and all of the traditions that we would come to expect from an inauguration.
Kind of wondering what his political future he may be pondering. Kept a higher profile, we'll say, over the last couple of weeks as we've struggled with what happened at the Capitol.
His fortunes have changed quite a bit, and again, as mentioned, there was no greater loyal ally to President Trump than Mike Pence, but because supporters of the president were led to believe that there was anything that could be done to change the election, and Vice President Pence did not do that because he did not possess the power to do it. Quickly, that support became chants of "Hang Mike Pence" inside the halls of that building 2 weeks ago. And yes, that's Alex Rodriguez. For those who are wondering, he's also Mr. J-Lo. Jennifer Lopez is going to be performing at this inauguration.
I heard him interview.
There's Obama right there.
How nervous she is about it. It's a tough venue.
Well, the Super Bowl is one thing, but this is indeed, and Lady Gaga is going to be performing the national anthem. So again, you can't help but enjoy
That's Michelle Obama.
With your eyes on what's taking place at the Capitol. Former presidents milling about with congressional leaders and A-list celebrities, and the Biden family has come in now. We've got 3 former presidents, 6 Supreme Court justices, and untold members of Congress as well.
Looking at President Obama, we're reminded, he kept his silence for much of the last 4 years, but down the stretch he became a very powerful advocate, a powerful voice on behalf of Joe Biden.
That's Eugene Goodman, who has been given the honorary designation today of the acting deputy sergeant of arms. And if you're not familiar with his story, then we'll try to do it justice in these few moments we have. He's walking with Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff, and he has that point of honor because he was on duty, Capitol Police officer, on that day, January 6th. And as the mob approached, the camera captured his quick thinking as he led the mob away from what he knew to be an open door right into the Senate chamber. And in doing so, could have perhaps prevented untold harm. And he has been commended for that action, and there's talk of Congressional Medal of Honor for him. And today he has the honor of escorting Doug Emhoff and soon-to-be Vice President Kamala Harris.
So many images of that day, and so many of them horrifying, but that was...
Vice President-elect Harris arrives at the ceremony. So there she is. Our Vice President, new one.
Doug Emhoff will make their way to the door and will be officially announced and presented as they take their place for the inauguration swearing.
And perhaps it's a measure of our times and how the news cycle and so much history being made as we speak that we haven't really paused, Lester, to note that we will have the first female vice president in our nation's history in an hour, and first Black American vice president, first Indian American. So there will be all kinds of history made today.
The acting Deputy House Sergeant at Arms, Kevin Grubbs, and the acting Deputy Senate Sergeant at Arms, United States Capitol Police Officer, Private First Class Eugene O. Goodman.
And that earned a rousing applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President-elect of the United States, Kamala Devi Harris, and Mr. Douglas Imhoff.
There they are.
Joe Biden is
Tappangalpa was there with President Obama and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris as she and her husband, Doug Emhoff, take up their position. It's worth noting that President-elect Biden has said he wants a relationship, vice presidential relationship, not unlike the one he enjoyed with Barack Obama, in which he was always the last voice, the last person in the room at a time of grave and important decisions.
Well, you make a good point because he's going to be president, but he's been vice president. So he knows all the highs and lows of that job. I mean, for a long time it was always joked that it was the worst job in Washington, that there was really no prescribed duties, but it's become in the last few administrations quite important, quite momentous. We mentioned Joe Biden. You have to mention Dick Cheney under President Bush, a hugely influential vice president. So Kamala Harris certainly will have that opportunity, and just the magnitude of what needs to be done when you're talking about an economic travails that this country is in, a pandemic. There's so much work to be done. It's really a two-person job, so we'll see if they are able to forge that kind of functioning relationship.
A lot of pride will be felt as we noted, the first woman of color will take the oath. She will take the oath first, we should note. Momentarily, we expect the introduction of the president-elect and Dr. Joe Biden. Their family there, as you can see, enjoying the moments or trying to stay warm or both. I'm going to assume they've got heaters up there on the platform.
Well, there's one good thing about masks. They do keep your face warm, so perhaps that's one plus that they otherwise...
So that's one giving another one.
I'll give you one, right? The other one is protection, of course. Yeah.
There is that.
Yes, protection from COVID. Let's bring in Chuck Todd and Andrea Mitchell, who are watching these images with us. And for all that has happened, at least these moments right now, Chuck, feel like the inaugurations that we've seen before and that hallmark of American democracy that people in this country have come to count on.
I'll be honest, this has been an elixir of sorts, the last hour, just to see the normalcy of people in both parties participating in this. I mean, look, it's a necessary elixir, and I think it, in many ways, is why Joe Biden won the election. It was sort of this feeling that if anybody can create a moment, a unifying moment, it's him, that he has the right, he just has the right perspective. He's been through so much himself that gives him the right level of empathy the country is desperately looking for here. And I'll just be honest, it's nice to hear the patriotic music. I mean, we took some of this for granted until 2 weeks ago. I'll be honest. And so I have looked at all of this through a different set of eyes since January 6th today.
Yeah, I covered Congress for many years and have been up on that podium, and seeing this restores a sense that we're okay. We're going to be okay. The country's going to be okay. It's just extraordinary to see all of these leaders who've worked together. You had Mitch McConnell and others coming out. There is a bipartisan note. I saw a note earlier from Marco Rubio that the reason he is not here, and there you see the Bidens, Savannah, coming through. But Marco Rubio just quickly is saying that he's not here only because he is rushing to...
Now, President-elect Biden arrived at the ceremony. Here he is.
Republican objections.
But as we watch the president-elect, soon-to-be president, soon-to-be first lady approach, and we saw the congressional leaders, I do think, Chuck, to pick up on what you were talking about, there is that almost feeling of defiance, institutional defiance. Congress saying, wait a minute, you attacked us 2 weeks ago, but just as they came in the late hours of the night and completed their business on January 6th, this is a continuation of that thread, their constitutional duty to inaugurate a new president at high noon, January 20th. That is written in our founding documents, and in 45 minutes it will happen. And there does feel like there's that defiance and determination on the part of Republicans and Democrats.
I want to share with you, Savannah, I want to pick up on this. I want to share with you, I talked to somebody who was pretty high up in the Bush administration a couple weeks ago. He said, I know you guys in the press are beating yourselves up, members of Congress are. He says, you know what? The guardrails did work over these last 4 years. They got bruised, they got beaten, and we've seen, but we're in some ways, and almost today itself is a reminder, as much as we thought, oh my God, look how vulnerable our system is to sort of crumbling. A lot of the institutions, while they were battered and bruised, whether it's ours in the press or Congress or other institutions, they worked. They held up.
It's snowing in Washington right
now. And this
now.
person said to me,
you know what?
I'm not going to share his name because it would just give that person a lot of problems. But he sort of said, you know what? In 20 years, we may look back at this in the same way we look back at the McCarthy years and say, you know what? The system worked. We weeded it out. And this morning, right now, is a reminder, our guardrails did hold up.
The weather may be a different story. We're seeing a few little snow flurries out there, and we're starting to see some of the introductions, more congressional leaders coming in. I'm squinting at the screen to see who we can identify, but any moment now that we know that President-elect Biden and soon-to-be First Lady Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, are on the move inside the Capitol and about to make their big entrance.
And we're going to hear remarks shortly from Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri on behalf of the Inauguration Committee.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. and Dr. Jill Biden.
Alright, the ceremony is starting right now, so it's 11:19.
Please welcome the Honorable Amy Klobuchar.
Vice President Pence, President-elect, Madam Vice President-elect, members of Congress and the judicial branch, former presidents and first ladies, vice presidents, leaders from abroad, and a whole bunch of Bidens. America, welcome to the 59th presidential inauguration, where in just a few moments, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will take their solemn oaths. This ceremony is the culmination of 244 years of a democracy. It is the moment when leaders brought to this stage by the will of the people promise to be faithful to our Constitution, to cherish it and defend it. It is the moment when they become, as we all should be, guardians of our country. Have we become too jaded, too accustomed to the ritual of the passing of the torch of democracy to truly appreciate what a blessing and a privilege it is to witness this moment? I think not. 2 weeks ago, when an angry, violent mob staged an insurrection and desecrated this temple of our democracy, it awakened us to our responsibilities as Americans. This is the day when our democracy picks itself up, brushes off the dust, and does what America always does. Goes forward as a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This conveyance of a sacred trust between our leaders and our people takes place in front of this shining Capitol dome for a reason. When Abraham Lincoln gave his first inaugural address in front of this Capitol, the dome was only partially constructed, braced by ropes of steel. He promised he would finish it. He was criticized for spending funds on it during the Civil War. To those critics, he replied, "If the people see the Capitol going on, it is a sign we intend the Union shall go on." And it did, and it will. Generations of Americans gave their lives to preserve our republic in this place. Great legislation to protect civil rights and economic security and lead the world was debated and crafted under this dome. Now it falls on all of us, not just the two leaders we are inaugurating today, to take up the torch of our democracy, not as a weapon of political arson, but as an instrument for good. We pledge today never to take our democracy for granted as we celebrate its remarkable strength. We celebrate its resilience, its grit. We celebrate the ordinary people doing extraordinary things for our nation, the doctors and nurses on the front line of this pandemic, the officers in the Capitol, a new generation never giving up hope for justice. We celebrate a new president, Joe Biden, who vows to restore the soul of America and cross the river of our divides to a higher plane. And we celebrate our first African American, first Asian American, and first woman vice president, Kamala Harris, who stands on the shoulders of so many on this platform who have forged the way to this day. When she takes the oath of office, little girls and boys across the world will know that anything and everything is possible. And in the end, that is America, our democracy, a country of so much good. And today, on these Capitol steps and before this glorious field of flags, we rededicate ourselves to its cause. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce to you the senator who has worked with me and so many others to make this ceremony possible. My friend and the chair of the inaugural committee, Missouri Senator Roy Blunt.
Well, I should have known when Senator Klobuchar got involved, at least there'd be a touch of snow up here this morning. Of all the things we've considered, I don't think snow was on my agenda till I walked out the door a moment ago. But thank you, Senator Klobuchar, and thanks to the other members of the Joint Congressional Committee on the Inauguration as we officially begin the 59th inaugural ceremony. I also want to thank the Joint Committee staff and our partners, particularly our security partners, for the way they dealt with unprecedented circumstances. When I chaired the inauguration 4 years ago, I shared President Reagan's 1981 description of this event as commonplace and miraculous. Commonplace because we've done it every 4 years since 1789. Miraculous because we've done it every 4 years since 1789. Americans have celebrated this moment during war, during depression, and now during pandemic. Once again, all three branches of our government come together as the Constitution envisions. Once again, we renew our commitment to our determined democracy, forging a more perfect union. That theme for this inauguration, our determined democracy, forging a more perfect union, was announced by the Joint Committee before the election with the belief that the United States can only fulfill its promise and set an example for others if we are always working to be better than we have been. The Constitution established that determined democracy with its first three words, declaring the people as the source of the government. The Articles of Confederation hadn't done that. The Magna Carta hadn't done that. Only the Constitution says the government exists because the people are the source of the reason it exists. They immediately followed those first three words with the words to form a more perfect union. The founders did not say to form a perfect union. They did not claim that in our new country nothing would need to be improved. Fortunately, they understood that always working to be better would be the hallmark of a great democracy. The freedoms we have today, the nation we have today, is not here just because it happened, and they aren't complete. A great democracy working through the successes and failures of our history, striving to be better than it had been. And we are more than we have been, and we are less than we hope to be. The assault on our capital at this very place just 2 weeks ago reminds us that a government designed to balance and check itself is both fragile and resilient. During the last year, the pandemic challenged our free and open society and called for extraordinary determination and sacrifice, and still challenges us today. Meeting that challenge head on have been and are healthcare workers, scientists, first responders, essential frontline workers, and so many others we depend on in so many ways. Today we come to this moment. People all over the world, as we're here, are watching and will watch what we do here. Our government comes together. The Congress and the courts join the transition of executive responsibility. One political party more pleased today and on every inaugural day than the other. But this is not a moment of division. It's a moment of unification. A new administration begins and brings with it a new beginning. And with that, our great national debate goes forward, and a determined democracy will continue to be essential in pursuit of a more perfect union and a better future for all Americans. What a privilege for me to join you today. Thank you. I'm pleased to call to the podium a longtime friend of the President-elect and his family, Father Leo O'Donovan, to lead us in an invocation. Please stand if you are able and remain standing for the national anthem and the pledge to our flag.
Now they're doing the national anthem and the pledge. So,
Gracious and merciful God, at this sacred time we come before you in need, indeed on our knees. But we come still more with hope, and with our eyes raised anew to the vision of a more perfect union in our land, a union of all our citizens to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We are a people of many races, creeds, and colors, national backgrounds, cultures, and styles, now far more numerous and on land much vaster than when Archbishop John Carroll wrote his prayer for the inauguration of George Washington 232 years ago. Archbishop Carroll prayed that you, O Creator of all, would assist with your Holy Spirit of counsel and fortitude the President of these United States, that his administration may be conducted in righteousness and be eminently useful to your people. Today we confess our past failures to live according to our vision of equality, inclusion, and freedom for all. Yet we resolutely commit still more now to renewing the vision, to caring for one another in word and deed, especially the least fortunate among us, and so becoming a light for the world. There is a power in each and every one of us that lives by turning to every other one of us, a trust of the Spirit to cherish and care and stand by others, and above all those most in need. It is called love, and its path is to give ever more of itself. Today it is called American patriotism, born not of power and privilege, but of care for the common good, with malice toward none and with charity for all. For our new president, we beg of you the wisdom Solomon sought when he knelt before you and prayed for an understanding heart, so that I can govern your people and know the difference between right and wrong. We trust in the counsel of the letter of James. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Pope Francis has reminded us how important it is to dream together. By ourselves, he wrote, we risk seeing mirages, things that are not there. Dreams, on the other hand, are built together. Be with us, holy mystery of love, as we dream together. Help us under our new president to reconcile the people of our land, restore our dream and invest it with peace and justice and the joy that is the overflow of love. To the glory of your name, forever. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the presentation of our national colors by the Armed Forces Color Guard, the singing of our national anthem, and for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies and gentlemen, here for the singing of our national anthem, accompanied by the President's own United States Marine Band, please welcome Lady Gaga. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the city of South Fulton, Georgia Fire and Rescue Department, President of the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3920, Fire Captain Andrea M. Hall, for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What you are all about to be part of America. African American, our first Asian American, and our first woman vice president, Kamala Harris. It is my great privilege to welcome to the inaugural stage the first Latina to ever serve on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's attendance leaders of office followed by musical honors.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kamala David Harris, do solemnly swear. Kamala David Harris, do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely. That I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. That I will well and faithfully discharge. That I will well and faithfully discharge. The duties of the office on which I am about to enter. The duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. So help me God.
So that was the vice president swearing in now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
So now our new vice president is Kamala Harris.
Please welcome Jennifer Lopez to perform This Land Is Your Land and America the Beautiful, accompanied by members of the President's Own United States Marine Band.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the Blue Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking down that ribbon of highway, I saw above me and inside you and me. Oh, this land, oh, this land was made for you and me. You and me. From sea to shining sea. Una nación bajo Dios y diciendo la libertad y justicia para todos. Let's give it was made for you and me.
Well, that was great. The sun is shining, and Mr. President-elect, this is the first inauguration in the history of America where J-Lo was the warm-up act for Chief Justice Roberts. With that, it is now my distinct honor to introduce the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, John Roberts, to administer the presidential oath to the next President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the oath of office followed by musical honors.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear. I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute. The office of President of the United States. And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
My fellow Americans, a moment we have all been waiting for. It is now my great privilege and high honor to be the first person to officially introduce the 46th President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden Jr.
Now he's the official president. There you go, President Biden Jr. President Biden. Now that's it, President Biden. There you go. President Biden delivers inaugural address.
Chief Justice Roberts, Vice President Harris, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Schumer, Leader McConnell, Vice President Pence, my distinguished guests, my fellow Americans. This is America's day. This is democracy's day. A day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. Through a crucible for the ages, America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge. Today, we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard, and the will of the people has been heeded. We've learned again that democracy is precious. Democracy is fragile. And at this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed.
So now Trump is our former Trump is our former president, and Mike Pence is our former vice president. Okay.
One nation, under God, indivisible, to carry out the peaceful transfer of power as we have for more than 2 centuries. As we look ahead in our uniquely American way, restless, bold, optimistic, and set our sights on the nation we know we can be and we must be. I thank my predecessors of both parties for their presence here today. I thank them from the bottom of my heart. And I know the resilience of our Constitution and the strength of our nation, as does President Carter, who I spoke with last night, who cannot be with us today, but whom we salute for his lifetime in service. I've just taken the sacred oath each of those patriots have taken. The oath first sworn by George Washington. But the American story depends not on any one of us, not on some of us, but on all of us, on we the people who seek a more perfect union. This is a great nation,
We're good people. And over the centuries, through storm and strife, through peace and in war, we've come so far. But we still have far to go. We'll press forward with speed and urgency, for we have much to do in this winter of peril and significant possibilities. Much to repair, much to restore, much to heal, much to build, and much to gain. Few people in our nation's history have been more challenged or found the time more challenging or difficult than the time we're in now. Once-in-a-century virus that silently stalks the country. It's taken as many lives in 1 year as America lost in all of World War II. Millions of jobs have been lost. Hundreds of thousands of businesses closed. A cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer. A cry for survival comes from the planet itself. A cry that can't be any more desperate or any more clear. And now, a rise of political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism, that we must confront and we will defeat. To overcome these challenges, to restore the soul and secure the future of America, requires so much more than words. It requires the most elusive of all things in a democracy: unity. Unity. In another January, on New Year's Day in 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. When he put pen to paper, the president said, and I quote, "If my name ever goes down into history, it'll be for this act, and my whole soul is in it." My whole soul is in it. Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this. Bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation. And I ask every American to join me in this cause. Uniting to fight the foes we face: anger, resentment and hatred, extremism, lawlessness, violence, disease, joblessness, and hopelessness. With unity, we can do great things, important things. We can right wrongs. We can put people to work in good jobs. We can teach our children in safe schools. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work and rebuild the middle class and make health care secure for all. We can deliver racial justice, and we can make America once again the leading force for good in the world. I know speaking of unity can sound to some like a foolish fantasy these days. I know the forces that divide us are deep and they are real. But I also know they are not new. Our history has been a constant struggle. Fear, demonization have long torn us apart. The battle is perennial, and victory is never assured. Through Civil War, the Great Depression, World War, 9/11, through struggle, sacrifice, and setbacks, our better angels. In each of these moments, enough of us have come together to carry all of us forward. And we can do that now. History, faith, and reason show the way of unity. We can see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors. We can treat each other with dignity and respect. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. Without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation.
Says Joe Biden assumed the presidency of the United States. a lot of people during COVID-19. Those are the movement of silence today. So I'll do that tomorrow in my video. So stay tuned for that.
Garth Brooks now will perform.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I found what I, but now I see. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. If I can ask you to sing this last verse with me, not just the people here, but the people at home, at work, as one, united. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I found. Was blind, but now I see.
Garth Brooks performing for the crowd there over the on the west front of the Capitol, where moments.
A song that in our culture is as close to both poetry and prayer as you could possibly come. And we're going to finish with those two things. Let me introduce Amanda Gorman, our nation's first ever National Poet Laureate.
Amanda Gorman with this poem.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The lost, we carry a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is hours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time, were a
Her name is Amanda Gorman. She was 22 years old from Los Angeles. What a just powerful, beautiful piece of poetry she just did.
Well, you'd hate to follow her.
Yeah.
She did, we had prose and now we've had poetry and we've had song.
For benediction, I'm pleased to introduce Reverend Dr. Sylvester Beeman, the pastor of the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Wilmington, Delaware, a friend of President Biden for 30 years.
Reveal surveillance pavement delivers sentence.
As a nation and people of faith gathered in this historical moment, let us unite in prayer. God, we gather under the beauty of your holiness and the holiness of your beauty. We seek your face, your smile, your warm embrace. We petition you once more in this celebration. We pray for divine favor upon our President, Joseph R. Biden, and our First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, and their family. We further ask that you would extend the same favor upon our Vice President, Kamala D. Harris, and our Second Gentleman, Doug Emhoff, and their family. More than ever, they and our nation need you. We need you, for in you we discover our common humanity. In our common humanity, we will seek out the wounded and bind their wounds. We will seek healing for those who are sick and diseased. We will mourn our dead. We will befriend the lonely, the least, and the left out. We will share our abundance with those who are hungry. We will do justly to the oppressed, acknowledge sin, and seek forgiveness, thus grasping reconciliation. In discovering our humanity, we will seek the good in and for all our neighbors. We will love the unlovable, remove the stigma of the so-called untouchables. We will care for our most vulnerable, our children, the elderly, emotionally challenged, and the poor. We will seek rehabilitation beyond correction. We will extend opportunity to those locked out of opportunity. We will make friends of our enemies. We will make friends of our enemies. People, your people, shall no longer raise up weapons against one another. We will rather use our resources for the national good and become a beacon of life and goodwill to the world. And neither shall we learn hatred anymore. We will lie down in peace and not make our neighbors afraid. In you, O God, we discover our humanity. In our humanity, we discover our commonness. Beyond the difference of color, creed, origin, political party, ideology, geography, and personal preferences. We'll become greater stewards of your environment, preserving the land, reaping from it a sustainable harvest, and securing its wonder and miracle-giving power for generations to come. This is our benediction, that from these hallowed grounds, where slaves labored to build this shrine and citadel to liberty and democracy, let us all acknowledge
from the indigenous Native American to those who recently received their citizenship, from the African American to those whose foreparents came from Europe and every corner of the globe, from the wealthy to those struggling to make it, for every human being regardless of their choices, that this is our country. As such, teach us, O God. As such, teach us, O God, to live in it, love in it, be healed in it, and reconcile to one another in it, lest we miss kingdom's glory. To your glory, majesty, dominion, and power forever. Hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. In the strong name of our collective faith. Amen.
And that concludes the inauguration ceremony at the Capitol. It looked different than any other, and as we expected, the empty spaces, the social distancing. What we didn't see, except in a few cutaways, I suppose, was the soldiers, that ring of steel around this general area, owing to what happened 2 weeks ago. I want to bring in NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss. Michael, give me your first and early reaction to the inauguration speech.
Terrific speech. I think Lester will be going for 3.
Alright, if you like today's video, give this video a big thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button down there. Please hit the bell button down here. Please turn on your bell button on to be notified when I post. Today's another beautiful weather outside in New York City right now. Right now in New York City is 2:14. So right here in 2:14, in China is 3:14. So over here it's 2:14 p.m. and you can see the TV is still on because they still the President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris is going to Arlington Cemetery to meet former President Obama and former President Bush and former President Clinton. And later in the afternoon, President Biden and Vice President Harris will have their virtual Parade of America. And then tonight, they're going to have President and Vice President ball. Alright? So no more. Donald Trump is done. He's done. So it's not called President Trump anymore. It's called former Donald J. Trump. And former Vice President Mike Pence. Alright? That will conclude today's video. I know this video is very long because today's Inauguration Day, and I also forgot to say Happy Inauguration Day, everybody. I know it's not a holiday, but it's a big thing in America because inauguration means you put it here and then you swore in. And then yeah, so please like all my TikTok videos. I'll post another one today. Please like all my Instagram posts. Please follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. Thank you. Until next time, bye, Stan the Fan.